homies? This your boy Kenny with Gangsta Island TV, where we like to throw it all the way back to the good old days of hip-hop and urban culture, usually focusing on the golden era. So let me get this out the way first. Definitely hit subscribe and like this video to help your boy out with the algorithm. So today we about to switch it up a little bit and explain what hip-hop is, man. I think that is necessary for y'all. Again, this channel focuses on my experience with hip-hop as a young kid in the hood that's about the same age as that art form. Hip-hop was born in like 1973, 74, something like that. So I'm super passionate about this because hip-hop is like a family member, man. We grew up and matured together. So let me break it down in 3 areas that we will focus on today. Number 1, rap versus hip-hop, because there is a difference. Number 2, why was hip-hop even created and where would we be without it? And finally, number 3, the elements of hip-hop and why that must change. Anyway, let's hop to it. So peep this, hip-hop and rap are 2 different things entirely that work together to form a style of communication. Rap is something that you do, very similar to the act of talking. English is a language, and to communicate that language you talk. So hip-hop is the language, and to communicate that language you rap. So hip-hop is to English as rap is to talk. So you talk English and you rap hip-hop. To go a little bit further on that, you have a lot of words to choose from so you can adequately express yourself when you talk. And with hip-hop, you have a lot of elements that you can talk about when you rap, as most people in the black community have had similar experiences, but not exactly the same. So that's why when other cultures look down on hip-hop, it's because it's in a language that they can't understand. And most people try to shy away from things or frown down on things that they can't understand. A lot of people treat people in this country different when their primary language is something other than English. Same with hip-hop. Okay, so what makes a dope-ass rapper? It's like noticing that somebody is just a better speaker than you and just can really talk better than you. Like Martin Luther King Jr. or Obama, man, they just sound good. They just know how to emphasize words and put shit together that can articulate things better than most people. Same with rapping. Some motherfuckers just know how to make their communication sound better than you can. Rakim, Eminem, Big, them dudes just know how to get their point across better than most people and create some rhythm and make it rhyme at the same time. Now that's a talent, man, so I'm glad we got that out the way. Why was hip-hop even created? Now, I'm not going to go into the forefathers and the actual people right now. I'm going to cover that when I talk about the eras in a few episodes. But just generally, the reason to even come up with hip-hop in the first place. So hip-hop as a language is pretty specific. It was created because of life in the black community back in the 70s. Now check this out, kids. Black people ain't always been able to be free and do what we wanted to do. Like, we used to really be at a serious disadvantage, man. And no, I'm not about to go down that black people is oppressed route. I'm just giving y'all a timeline, so hear me out on this shit. It is common knowledge that black people were not given the best opportunities back in those days, so we had to make do with what we had. So let me give y'all a pretty practical example. And this has nothing to do with money, because even millionaires have experienced this shit that I'm about to tell y'all. So you ever forgot to go to the grocery store and was starving at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and all the restaurants is closed, you can't get no Uber Eats or nothing. And you went into the kitchen and you only had a few things that really didn't go together. Like, you start making a meal out of some weird ass food, like maybe ice cream and some pickles or some crazy shit like that. And it tasted good, not because it was good food, but because it satisfied your hunger. Well, that's what a lot of black people had to do back in those days with pretty much everything. College wasn't a really popular option back then, so the average kid's choice was to work at a factory, join the military, or do some illegal shit. Not terrible options, but just no variety with those options. Alright, so what does this have to do with hip-hop though? Well, one thing that all black people have in common is a love for music and rhythm. It's just in our DNA, but we didn't have the ingredients to do music according to the quote-unquote requirements from that time period. Up until the 70s, you could not be a successful artist if you couldn't sing or play an instrument. That was the criteria that was defined back then. Hip-hop changed all that and added creativity to the mix, just like the food example that I just finished talking about. Most people don't understand that creativity is a talent just as much as playing the guitar or singing. Walk with me here, man. So we were able to take a drum machine and a sampler and say, okay, this record is cool, but let me take this piece from this song and that piece from that record and that beat from that record and put it all together. It will sound great and make a dope ass song. Boom. That's hip hop in a nutshell. We created a universal language by combining elements of other languages, and that's just as much of a talent as anything else. To be honest, that's how most languages were created. Over time, people added to languages. I qualify talent as something that an average Joe may not be able to do like myself. And trust me, man, I tried that shit. I realized that I do not have the skill set to hear gems and other songs and create new songs based off that. The elements of hip hop. Now this is where I gotta change the rules a little bit, and I think we as a culture need to revisit this. The core elements of hip hop used to be b-boying, graffiti, DJing/production, and MCing/rapping. Let me be clear here. Ain't nobody really doing graffiti on walls like they used to and breakdancing, man, on cardboard in the street no more. And because these young dudes may not want to acknowledge that don't mean that they not hip hop. So these old motherfuckers need to let this shit go and understand that everything evolves. Me, I'm old motherfuckers. I had to come to grips, man, with the concept of evolution and let it go. So let me give y'all one last analogy. And this is for the older generation. And I'm talking about 40 and up. When you think back to the most fun times of your life, what do you think about? You think about the club and no real bills and a little bitty small apartment, or living with your moms in a basement, drinking all night, going to eat bad food at 4 a.m. Good old days, right? But guess what, man? Those days are gone. And when you think back, you cannot understand how you ever did that shit and how these young folks can do that crazy shit right now. That's how we feel about hip hop right now. That's why we listen to the same 25 songs from the 80s and the 90s, reliving the glorious days. Guess what though? Times are different now, and let these young dudes do that same shit and let's not judge them. People didn't stop having talent after the 90s, man. They have taken what we created and is adding to the hip hop language, and some of it we just can't understand. Just like our parents didn't understand that rhyming on the record was a talent back in the 90s or the 80s when they first heard it come out our tape deck. Either embrace it or walk away. It ain't the 80s or the 90s no more, man, and the pioneers did their job to perfection, and now hip-hop is the #1 selling genre of any music in the world. Well done, soldiers. With that being said, let these youngins take the torch and do what they want to do with it. Let's stop judging these dudes, man. And that's it, y'all. So hit the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know what y'all want me to cover, man. I want some subjects that y'all want me to tackle, man. Until next time, peace and blessings, and stay hip-hop at all times.